Overcast skies and a slight drizzle gave way to sunshine and heat as day 5 wrapped up right before the rain here in training camp. It is the New Orleans Saints training camp show right here on CST. I'm Todd Graffagnini along with John DeShazier. As we started day 5, we were immediately given some roster moves by the New Orleans Saints. Some have left, now some are in.
Yeah, the main guy, one of the main guys who's in is receiver Travin Dural. Travin Dural has been around this team for a couple of years now. He's a guy who obviously the Saints feel pretty good about, otherwise they wouldn't have brought him back. He's got some potential. He can get deep. Everybody around here knows him from his days at LSU. And he's a guy who has some potential, and obviously the Saints are needing a little bit of potential at that receiver spot because they might be a little bit thin there right now. So Travin, one of those guys, comes into camp a little bit late. He's been around. Hopefully he can obviously adapt pretty quickly to what the Saints are doing because he knows this offense, and maybe he can contribute.
Also on the local front, former Tulane running back and former Washington Redskin Robert Kelley is now a member of the New Orleans Saints. Going to see what he can do in that running back core. And JD, having watched Rob in college, I mean, this is a kid who has a lot of potential. He's obviously been a pro with Washington, but boy, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, and if he maintains his weight, and that's been the key, and that's why the Saints brought him in, he can really be a load to try to bring down.
Yeah, I think Coach Payton specifically mentioned that he had lost 15 pounds since he worked out from now until when he actually comes into training camp. That's a huge number for a guy, and obviously kudos to Robert Kelley because he understands that he needed to lose that weight to be an effective NFL player. So hopefully he's going to have an opportunity here. We've seen the Saints have a little attrition at running back. Latavius Murray has not practiced the last couple of days, so he was able to get in immediately and get some reps today.
We talk about expectations, JD, and obviously the Saints are coming off of back-to-back NFC South championships. How do you sustain the level of excellence? 13 wins a year ago. That's a very important thing, and it's tough because the way the NFL is shaped nowadays, it really breeds parity. Can you continue the pace that they've been on?
Yeah, that's a difficult thing, and we know that right out of the gate for the Saints. Their first 4 games are against playoff teams. 2 of those games back-to-back on the road where they'll go out to LA and then go to Seattle, won't even come home between trips. So the NFL doesn't do you any favors the better you are. You're going to be playing division champions most of the time. You're going to be playing a lot of playoff teams from that previous season. So it'll show up early how good you are.
Let's hear from Saints head coach Sean Payton on how to maintain that consistency.
I mean, I think our expectations and what we want to achieve from a season hopefully are high. So I think winning in our league is difficult, and getting to that consistency and I've got a tape I just put together. There's 5 or 6 games a year ago that were inside a touchdown. It's kind of what's the difference in an 8-8, 7-9 season to a 12-13 win season. There's probably you're going to play 5 or 6 of those games that are within a score. And you got to find a way to win more of those than you've done.
Saints wide receiver Tre'Quan Smith in his 2nd season in the system. And JD, we've already talked about some roster moves in the wide receiving core with Cam Meredith leaving, also Travin Dural coming in. But Tre'Quan's had a solid camp to this point, continues to make plays. He's going to have to keep doing it to help out Michael Thomas.
Yeah, he was a guy who came on strong in training camp last year. We had high hopes for him. Everybody had high hopes for him. He made some acrobatic catches in training camp. He showed some flashes during his rookie season. He was the guy, remember, who caught the pass from Drew Brees that set the all-time yardage record. So he's a guy who's been around a little bit now, and you hope that he's picked up the system a little bit better.
Let's hear from Tre'Quan Smith.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I don't have to think about my splits anymore. When I'm running out there, I already know, based off of some play calls, what my split's going to be. So I feel way more comfortable, which allows me to play it at 100% instead of versus last year where I was playing at 80 because I'm not knowing what to do. I'm sure about what to do.
Knowing what you know now and what it takes to compete at a high level throughout a regular season, what do you emphasize in training camp to make yourself better for the grind that's coming?
One of the biggest things I say is just compete all the time. You're not going to come out here and the DV just going to give you leeway. You got to compete every day because in their room they talk to your job is at stake at any moment, so you got to compete all the time. So that would be the biggest thing, is just being out here compete. You know, you compete at the very best and you give your very best, you're going to have good results at the end.
Rookie safety CJ Gardner-Johnson is making an impact as well. JD, we have seen him run with the ones at times, and look, you're a rookie in those type of situations. You're going to be put into spots where you're going to have to come through, especially when you're making plays. So good to see him in there early amongst the starters.
Yeah, his versatility is huge. One thing that defensive backs coach Aaron Glenn said was, one, he's built to last physically. Two, he's a kid who's got really good instincts. He's extremely physical also, and he's got the natural ability to cover. You can use him some in the slot. You can use him as safety, free safety, strong safety. He's a guy who has a lot of abilities, and he's going to be an important chess piece that you can move around.
Yeah, definitely not afraid from contact. Let's go hear from CJ.
I take it personal when I mess up, because if you don't take it personal, that means you're in the wrong business. And I know you're not supposed to dwell on the last play, but I'm trying to go out there and be the best, not trying to go out and be average. I'm not on an average team, so I got to do what I got to do.
Do you feel like the competition and the veterans that you're playing with are making you better?
I mean, it's probably one of the best teams in the league. You know, like I said, it's my first year. Well, it's my first couple months in NFL. So, with that being said, I don't know much about other teams, but I know watching the Saints football after I got drafted, that's probably a top-tier team. So, there's gonna be some top-tier competition at practice. So, if you're getting the best quality work out there, then you should be fine in the game.
When we come back to the New Orleans Saints training camp show right here on CST, John DeShazier has a one-on-one with defensive line coach Ryan Nielsen.
Well, welcome back to the Saints Training Camp Report here on CST. We're here with Saints defensive line coach Ryan Nielsen. Ryan, a little bit different look on the line this year. What have you seen so far that you like and you want to see improvement on?
Well, I'll tell you this. I like the guys' focus on practice and fundamentals and improvement. They're really focusing on getting the job done in terms of their fundamentals in order to be better football players. What I'd like to see is the continuance of doing that and not worrying about preseason game number one or getting towards the regular season, taking a day-by-day approach of just getting better at the things that they need to do to have success.
Is that easier for the veteran guys than the younger guys, because those young pups kind of want to get into the mix?
Maybe it is sometimes. The guys that have been here before, that kind of know how we do things, and the newer players are kind of learning how we're getting it done. But I think they've done a good job as a group overall of just focusing on those things. And day 3 into camp, so it's still very early. But all we want to do is get better tonight and tomorrow's practice.
The known commodities, Cam Jordan, Taylor Stallworth, David Onyemata, the not-so-known commodities to Saints fans at least, Mario Edwards Jr. and also Malcolm Brown. What are you seeing from those guys that you think they'll be able to add to the defensive line?
Well, look, they're good football players first, so we're happy to have them. I think what we're going to add is we got a little bit more size inside. You saw today in practice, man, we're striking blocks thick. We're using our hands. I think those guys, man, very good athletes. So I think overall, we get Sheldon back, man, I really like our group. I'm excited about it.
We know about all those guys and the young pup, Marcus Davenport, who, will be healthy coming into training camp, and obviously a guy who the Saints expect a big impact out of.
Yeah, sure. Look, I understand, the expectations for the player, and our expectations is just day by day getting better. And that's all the thing. Marcus is a more confident football player now than he was last year. You can see how he carries himself. He knows now what to do. Now our focus is on just doing those things better. Instead of, he didn't know the schedule. He didn't know, he's got to learn all those things. So now he does. So now I want to see him, the fundamentals of technique, improve every single day, and his supreme focus on getting better.
Now, having a padded practice, how much does that help in the evaluation process, especially for linemen?
Sure. Well, that's how where footballs, play with the pads on. So we're looking how guys are striking blocks and playing with their hands and their feet and getting off blocks to make plays, so that we're going to evaluate every player on every single snap.
That's Ryan Nielsen, and we'll be back.
Final segment of New Orleans Saints training camp show right here on CST. I'm Todd Graffagnini along with John DeShazier. Well, 5 days in, 3 padded practices, a much needed day off tomorrow, JD. And this time at camp, with the heat and the pads, you're starting to see a little bit of attrition, but it's really nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah, let's hope it's nothing major. We saw Teron Armstead go down left tackle, and he was able to bounce back up and was pretty spry around, so we don't think it's anything major with him. We also saw rookie receiver Emmanuel Butler, a guy who's turned a lot of heads here in training camp. He left practice early, as well as tight end Alizé Mack. So you hope that all of these are minor issues, that those guys can be back certainly for the next practice, but certainly for the first preseason game, because that's where they're really going to have to show up. Not Teron Armstead, but those other two really need to be ready to go in that first preseason game.
Well, on the personal side, happy birthday to A.J. Klein, celebrating a birthday here today, of course, celebrating the birth of a baby girl back on the 27th. It's been a very special week for the Kleins.
Obviously, I had my baby girl born on the 27th at night, missing that one day of practice and coming back for first day of pads, and then birthday today, and trying to make trips back and forth to my house to spend some time with my wife and both the kids. So it's been a lot this week, but been able to handle it, and it's been a true blessing. It really is to be able to be here, play football, and obviously have my family grow at the same time.
That's all the time we have for today. Enjoy the day off tomorrow. We'll see you on Thursday for our next training camp show right here on CST. Now that practice Thursday here is closed to the public. Next open practice will be on Friday. For John DeShazier, I'm Todd Graffagnini. We'll see you Thursday right here on CST.